Is Avalanche behind the scenes slowly cooking? Well, it seems like that to me at least, because did you know that even despite AVAX, which is Avalanche's native token, still being below $10, a couple days ago, something called MSB Intel reported that Avalanche distributed real world assets, or should I say RWAs, hit a new all-time high. It was actually up almost 60% in the last 2 weeks. So I find this pretty impressive. Now, I'll get into this in today's video and just how I think it could potentially impact Avalanche moving forward, even though nothing I say is financial advice and even though I am not telling anyone to do anything. Now, let's just take this into consideration. Stellar is very focused on RWAs, or should I say real world assets. People oftentimes like to focus on the fact that there's 3 spot Avalanche ETFs in the US and yet still AVAX is below $10. Again, it's a complaint that a lot of people have, and I'm totally aware of that. But at the same time, we have to consider that Avalanche is still building and doing its thing, I think, behind the scenes. People sometimes don't really consider this because if we take a look at the concept of an RWA, or should I say a real world asset, if we take a look at RWA tokens, what they are is that they are digital representations of physical assets on the blockchain. You know, it could be in the use case for like the real estate market, for instance, or let's say art or whatever. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities, but I'm just naming a few. But even besides that, again, that is a big narrative as of right now. We see something like Ondo historically be really focused on RWAs. We see something like Stellar, of course, that's really focused on RWAs. But Avalanche, it's not really considered for that. But I think sometimes people don't take a look at the statistics, and I think sometimes they just kind of think, oh, Avalanche is another layer 1 blockchain that's too focused on the retail hype. It's too focused on the retail market. Who cares about this? They're not doing anything useful. But if we actually peel back, I guess, the curtains and we see what they're doing behind the scenes, it seems like they're doing something. So they're actually slowly cooking. They're cooking that chicken pot pie. They're cooking that pizza. It's just behind the scenes. The kitchen is not visible from the outside. So people sometimes don't really consider that. So when people like to say, oh, is Avalanche done for? Well, how is it done for if it's still doing stuff like that? Not to mention, if we consider how there's 3 spot Avalanche ETFs in the US, which may sound concerning considering how it's below $10, even despite that, but I don't think it's concerning because take a look at, for instance, the Bitcoin ETFs, the Ethereum ETFs, and is Bitcoin at an all-time high? No, it's not. Is Ethereum at an all-time high? No. Bitcoin is still below 80 grand, keep in mind. But suddenly, for Bitcoin, they say, oh, it's fine. They say that the ETFs are still awesome. But then suddenly, when it comes to Avalanche, just because it's below $10 and there's 3 spot Avalanche ETFs in the US, they say it's cooked. Well, how come they're normalizing Bitcoin being down, yet having, these prominent ETFs? And again, they say it's fine. But suddenly when it comes to Avalanche, it's a totally different story. It just kind of doesn't make sense to me because as of right now, the whole market, when it comes to this space, is generally not doing the best. I'm not talking about random altcoins that are microcaps that are doing this or doing that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, generally speaking, in the top 100, 200, 300, they're just not doing the best as of right now. So what? Bitcoin is down, Ethereum's down, BNB is down, Solana's down, and suddenly AVAX, which is Avalanche's native token, that's just going to randomly go on an independent rally of its own. There's no way it's going to do that, in my opinion. Keep in mind, this is a project that's ranked 25th when it comes to this space in terms of market cap. With a market cap as of right now that is around almost 4 billion, it just can't do that randomly if there is no altcoin season. But if anything, those 3 spot Avalanche ETFs in the US does, I think, prepare it better later on moving forward, as evidently what we've seen in the past when it comes to Ethereum and Bitcoin. People like to say again that, oh, but who really cares about the ETFs? Well, ETFs, especially when it comes to a project like this, because AVAX is an altcoin and Bitcoin is not an altcoin, but I'm saying, especially for an altcoin like this, it's going to greatly help with stability, especially moving forward, and also better access as well. And I get it. People like to say, what do you mean it's stable? It's not stable. Well, yeah, I mean, the ETFs, keep in mind, they all launched very recently. It's not like they've been around for many, many years. That's not the case, especially when it comes to Avalanche. So it takes time. And it's not like those ETFs launched with the best timing anyways. The market wasn't doing the best. Altcoins were not doing good. Avalanche was not doing good, right? So when it comes to this, it was a case where the ETFs, even though it's a really big deal, it launched at not such a good time. which made people kind of overlook it. But sometimes people don't consider how it could affect it maybe later on moving forward. That's the thing. And the common denominator as of right now is that a lot of projects are down. So if a lot of projects are down, I'm going to focus on the ones that I actually like, fundamentally speaking, and the ones that I actually think have strong fundamentals. Now, even though I'm not telling anyone to do anything, this is what I'm doing. Keep in mind, is AVAX being below $10 necessarily game over? Is it done for? Well, it depends who you ask, though. For people out there who are looking to exit, okay, I understand why they're upset, and also I can understand why, some people who've been, I guess, in AVAX for quite a while, they're like, wow, this is so boring. But I sometimes view it in a different lens, in a sense where, does Warren Buffett like low prices? I'm sure he does. Take a look at when he first believed in Coca-Cola. Take a look at when Berkshire Hathaway believed in Apple stocks. They were way lower than where they were as of right now. You know what I mean? Like, in a sense where those holdings, in terms of the value at the time, is very low compared to where it is right now, right? If you catch what I mean, in a sense where they got it when it was kind of a little bit low, relatively speaking. Now it's doing a lot better. So low prices could mean either a good thing or a bad thing depending on who you ask. So when I take a look at this right here, again, being below $10, because my intent is to do something called dollar cost averaging, this is not a big concern for me. If anything, it's a little bit kind of like a party, a little bit, because you're telling me that I can dollar cost average into one of the top layer 1 blockchains out there in the world and its native token is below $10? Am I going to complain about that? I don't know if I would. It's like, for instance, imagine if a random building in New York City was like selling for $10 a square foot. Would anyone complain? I think a lot of real estate developers out there would probably jump at that, right? They would probably, think, oh, wow, that's a pretty cool thing. But then when it comes to the space, people view it totally different. But I view it no different because in real life, I would not complain if there was a discount. So why would I complain here? But besides that point, I'm not telling anyone to do anything. AVAX is actually, if we think about it, around 4 times lower than back in September 2025. That, by the way, was most definitely not an altcoin season. Not to mention, September was considered a little bit bearish, by the way. If we want to rewind the clock a little bit, did you know that AVAX is actually over 5 times lower than where it once was in December 2024? So let's just let that sink in. If we take a look at the concept of around $8, by the way, which, AVAX is almost at $9, but yeah, besides that point, if we just take a look at the basic concept of almost $9, right? When did we see that? Keep in mind, back in January of 2021, so back in January, so over 5 years ago, did you know that AVAX was around $9? So basically, I'm dollar cost averaging into AVAX as of right now at January of 2021 levels, but literally in 2026. It sounds a little bit ridiculous, but it's actually the case, right? It is as low as where it once was back in January of 2021. That is pretty ridiculous considering how the all-time high when it comes to AVAX is around $146. Wow. So clearly, we're around 15 times lower than its all-time high. Kind of ridiculous a little bit, actually, because its all-time high is almost $150, right? So yeah, besides that point, when I take a look at AVAX, if I'm able to dollar cost average currently at 2021 levels, I have zero complaints. But the thing is, it requires time. It requires me waiting to ever see maybe a change in market sentiment. But what am I in a hurry for? I'm not in a hurry. There's nothing I need to do so quickly, if that makes sense. Like, I'll gladly wait. You know what I mean? It's not like there's a specific timeline I have to do this by or whatever. No. I'm just waiting. I mean, if I think about it just in a more practical standpoint of view, I'm still going to have to do my day-to-day activities anyways, right? Whether I'm holding or I'm not. I'm still going to have to make it through this year, 2027, 2028, 2029, 2030, 2031, and so on. You know what I mean? So whether I'm holding or I'm not, it doesn't really matter. I'm still going to have to be living my life anyways. But holding is a background activity. It doesn't require me to monitor this like every 5 or 10 minutes because I am not a trader, right? I'm not doing things on a day-to-day basis. That's not my style. what I'm doing is I'm holding and I'm waiting. It's no different than like someone who acquires gold or whatever, or silver or platinum, and they're holding it for the long haul. It's just a little bit no different here. This is the way I take a look at it, but it's just with a different type of asset, if that makes sense, because precious metals, they're physical assets, right? This is a digital asset. It's a bit different. I cannot physically hold AVAX. It just doesn't exist in a physical form, but it's still an asset, right? At the end of the day. Precious metals, I can hold it, but this one I can't. But it's still under the same category. It's just one is digital, one is physical. So I kind of view it no different, because if some people out there like the dip when it comes to gold, silver, or platinum, I view it no different here. I also like the dip. It's just a little bit of a different market, but the same principle applies to me, even though I am not telling anyone to do anything. I'll be sure to make more updates moving forward. So I want to say thank you for watching.